It's been one step forward and two steps back. One step forward and two steps back. I reckon we're just going to keep doing this crap.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day. Our Monday show is brought to you by FanDuel. The College Football Playoff National Championship is on Monday evening, and FanDuel is the best place to get in on all the action. Visit the FanDuel app or FanDuel.com to get your CFP National Championship bonus. Make sure to get that thing in before kickoff on Monday night. Happy Monday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. In fact, not such a happy Monday for us Wolfpackers. We had a horrible loss for men's basketball on Saturday, a painstaking loss for women's basketball on Sunday. We had a couple transfer portal commits to kind of lighten the mood, but a tough weekend for basketball. We'll start here on the hard court with men's basketball. An extremely disappointing 4-point loss, 78-74 to the Yellow Jackets of Georgia Tech, which, like I said at the end of last week, that's the easiest game we will play the rest of this season. The rest of the schedule is littered with Q1 and Q2 opportunities. Georgia Tech right now is like fringe Q3, Q4, and that's a tough blemish to put on our resume because we have to take each and every game as they come. We got to get every single game we can. And like I always tell you, especially the ones at home. But as we've seen so far with this Will Wade group in year one, the only thing that is consistent is being inconsistent. And another example of that on Saturday, tough loss, Kenton, tough loss.
When we talk about, and this is why a lot of people have said, oh, we've been too critical of the team and we've been so hard on the team and all those things. What did we see other than the things that we have talked about from day one on this show? What did we see? Quick question, Grayson. What is Georgia Tech's three-point field goal percentage on the year?
Oh, God. It's probably like around like maybe 33%. Not great.
45 against us. 45.
Of course it is. Of course.
45. And then, of course, it's NC State. So you know there's going to be a player who he's just not that guy. But when he plays you, Kawasi Reeves is Georgia Tech's leading scorer. But how many points do you think he averages per game, Grayson?
Per game, probably like 14.
16. And he put up 21 against us. Not just 21, a very efficient 21. 6 of 13, 4 of 10 from deep, 21. This is the stuff that we have talked about all along. This is the stuff that Grayson and I have said all along. This is going to be a problem. And may I add, this was the other side of the sword of not having any big wins. Because do you know what the other problem is with no big wins? If you have a bad loss, all of a sudden it changes the entire tenor, the entire tone of this thing. Will Wade and this team have to get things corrected mid-season that should have already been corrected. They have to figure out how to shuffle the puppies on the perimeter and close out on shooters without allowing blow-bys. Because at this point, it has become a part of it's become a feature of the system that we're going to allow teams to shoot better from three than they ever would have thought. It has become a part of the system. And you could say, well, you know, Ken, this game would be way different if we just knock down threes at our normal clip and all that good stuff. And, 36% slightly below what we normally shoot. That's fine. But again, we see too many things that we'd already seen. We constantly talk about the fact that Darrion wins. Is he healthy? Is he not? What's going on with him? Is he good? Is he 7 points against Georgia Tech? I mean, what? Grayson, you tell me, is that good enough to you? Is that good enough to you? Hey, 5 assists, 4 steals, all that good stuff, 4 rebounds, love it. You were bought here to be the guy.
Yeah.
Not a guy, not a glue guy. You were bought here to be the guy. Time running down. Game on the line. You know what? We've run all of our best plays. We've run all of our best stuff. We just need a bucket. We need a guy we can roll the ball out to and get a bucket. That's what you were bought here for. That's what you're paid like, brother. That's what the deal is. And what do we get? 7 points. And I said earlier that, hey, Darrion Williams is starting to get his swagger back. First back-to-back 20-point game since the early part of the season. But you talk about consistency and inconsistency. This was your moment. This was your moment to say, you know what? The team is struggling. We're not doing things right, and they seem to be shooting well, which is a common thing against us. I'm the guy, so I'm going to step up. And did that happen? No. Just kind of shrunk. Just kind of, things are happening. And, things are happening to me. And like Will Wade said, we got a bunch of nice guys. We got guys that are real nice. We got guys that everything is go along to get along. To hell with that. Go along to get along, don't win championships. I want sickos. I want guys that want to rip the hearts out of bad teams. I want guys that are like, hey, you a Q14, you will know it by the 7-minute mark. You will know the difference between us and you early. You can play the best game of your damn season. You will still know very quickly, oh, this is different. We were out hustled. We were out efforted. We were outshot. And we walk away with a loss in the Lenny.
Something that actually seemed like pretty damning in all of this is the post game with Will Wade. And he's basically asked, like, how are you going to turn this around? You got big games on the horizon. He was like, well, yeah, we certainly got to turn it around. But with this group, I can't promise you that's going to happen. And that, to me, like, to the common fan, it's like, well, is he throwing in the towel? Like, what should the rest of us expect the rest of the season? Because this is not what any of us thought this would look like. And, a loss to Georgia Tech that's kind of been stumbling around, and they got blown out by Pitt, who's also a very average team. This is not a game that NC State has any business losing. In fact, what are they, 17, 18-point favorites at home? And not just lose, but you squander a lead late in the second half and lose because you're just shuffling around and you can't find a shot with any of your main players. I mean, Darrion Williams, Paul McNeil, and Quadir Copeland shot a combined at 28%. And that's being heavily lifted up by Quadir Copeland, who was 6 of 17 and had 16 points. To Kenton's point, Darrion Williams, he's flat out, he's got to be better. And I know he's gone through some struggles, and Will Wade's coaching him through the media and trying to hype him up and, keep his head up and stay positive. But 7 points against Georgia Tech's not going to cut it. I'm sorry, man. Like, we need more from you. And whether that's more usage or just flat out hitting your shots, we have got to find a way to generate more from our best players, the guys that we wanted to be here. Trey Holloman, I include him in this conversation. I know he's coming back off an injury. He, had the ankle twist, but 6 points on 1 of 4. For a guy that's been one of your better shooters, you got to get him better opportunities than just 3 shots from beyond the perimeter. You would like to believe it's somewhat of a simple fix with some of these things, but this team has a knack for making things more complicated than they're supposed to be. And so this is a very disappointing loss. And, like I said, the season's nowhere near over, and a loss like this one won't sink you, especially if you win some of your bigger opportunities. But this, at the same time, this is a loss you can't have. It's not a good Georgia Tech team. It's not going to look good on your resume. And this is not a team that you should be playing around with. The team that we built here in year one, despite the inconsistencies, you're supposed to be good enough to handle a Georgia Tech team like that one. Not to mention, they were missing one of their best players in this game. So they weren't even at full strength. And they come into your house and play with you like this. It's embarrassing, to be quite honest with you. And it's like, well, how are we going to get this solved? Because if we're just expecting a coin flip every game, it's just going to be a complete, we have no idea what's about to happen in this game. Buckle up. Here we go for 40 more minutes. I think that's kind of the vibe that we're all getting now. And, like I said, you have much bigger games on the horizon. You're on the road at Clemson on Tuesday night. Clemson's a solid team. They're ranked. If you can win that one, it'll help you. But if you lose, you're scrambling around even faster looking for more additional answers. So just disappointing, man. It's like, I don't even want to get like deeper into the weeds of this one, because it's just like, it just didn't look like we were ready. Didn't look like you prepared. It didn't look like you wanted to be there, to be quite honest, for most of that game. And that's pretty disheartening, especially at this point in the season. So very irritating 4-point loss to Georgia Tech. Like I said, they are on the road Tuesday night against Clemson. That'll be a ranked opponent, a Q1 opportunity, if you will. If you're going to lose to a team like Georgia Tech, you better be able to win against a team like Clemson to try and balance out some of your blemishes, because now you do have a very glaring one in that Q3, Q4 spot. So, yeah, disappointing, but we're going to have to see what Will Wade can figure out the rest of the way.
The reality of this thing, Grayson, people think that, one of the things that I love about Will Wade is just his personality and all that in general, and, the fact that he's a showman and all that. No. There are plenty of coaches out there that are showmen. He's a straight shooter. That's what I love about him. And him saying, with this group, I don't know if we can get it turned around, that's him shooting straight.
It is.
I'm doing the things. I'm doing everything I can. I'm exhausting everything that I got in the clip. I'm not sure if this gets better. And from a man to a man, as the players on this team, I don't know how you sit there and hear your coach say that and not think, oh, man, we got to show up in a major way. I don't know how you hear that and get out-rebounded by Georgia Tech. I don't know how you hear that and have Georgia Tech miss 14 free throws. Think about that for a second. They went 50% from the free throw line, 14 of 28, and we still lose the game. That's, again, ultimately, Will Wade shot it straight, and he said what he said. And I'm at this point, this can be turned around. However, I'm at this point okay with projecting out. If things do not get turned around right away, this season will end up in a disappointment. And this season is on the current course and trajectory to end up below Will Wade's goals.
Yeah, it's a good point because, like you said, he is a straight shooter. And so when he says, I don't know if this is going to get resolved, he's dead serious. Like, he's not playing a joke. He's not trying to coach his team to the media. Well, possibly a little bit, but he means that when he says that. And so, yes, if you are the team and you hear that soundbite, you're probably like, blank. We messed up here. We got to figure out to right this ship ASAP. And that means probably on the road Tuesday night against Clemson. So, yeah, you're in an awkward spot, to be quite honest, right now. This is a very awkward position to be in because you keep playing around with teams that are subpar like GT. I don't know where that ends for you, especially not in a positive manner. So disappointing loss, but there is time to rebound. But you better figure out what's going wrong and figure it out pretty quick here. Coming up next, we had a couple of bright spots from the weekend, a couple more additions to Pack Football. We'll touch on those after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Monday sponsor is FanDuel. College Football Playoff National Championship is here, and FanDuel is giving all customers even more ways to get in on the action. Because right now, FanDuel users will get a profit boost waiting for them inside the app. It's a 30% boost for the National Championship tonight on Monday. Make sure you take good advantage of that. Ride with the favorite even when you think a team will control the matchup, or take a shot on the underdog, especially when they're playing a home game. Apply that profit boost and go after even bigger winnings, especially tonight during the College Football National Championship. FanDuel will pay out instantly, which is perfect for playoff football. FanDuel is always the best place to get into the action, especially on a night like tonight. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boost only on FanDuel. Middle portion of our Monday show, perhaps the lone bright spot from the weekend was a couple more additions to NC State football through the transfer portal. The first one will start here with a big play wide receiver. That is Darrion Dozier via App State. He began his college career at Arkansas. He's a four-star recruit. Didn't play much for the Hogs, only played a little bit. Transfers to App State, where he had a pretty big season with the Mountaineers in 2025. Big play wide receiver, 20 catches for 448 yards and 5 touchdowns, an average of 22.4 yards per catch. So he's going to stretch the field. He's going to come down with the jump ball. If you give him a little space, he can boogie. And not to mention, he's tough to bring down. He's 6'4", 205, a big play, explosive play even, waiting to happen. Kenton, what are your thoughts on Darrion Dozier?
I'm so intrigued by the portal strategy that NC State is going with. I'm so intrigued.
Say the least.
Because it makes sense to surround CJ Bailey with a lot of talent, because this is gonna I feel like, and I could be wrong here. I might be wrong here. I feel like this is like, I'm 70% sure CJ is probably not gonna be in Raleigh after next year. Right.
And that's fine. That's fine. What we're asking for is 2026.
I think he'll probably be in the NFL, but hey, my prediction with Hollywood Smothers came wrong. I'm not gonna say I'm Nostradamus here. With that being said, I get that they're loading them up with some weapons, loading them up with some quality weapons. I say it's intriguing because the gets that we're coming away with are all so impressive in their own right as pass catchers. And I'm looking around like, well, damn, we're gonna have a hell of a receiver room, but everything else, like, don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. I don't want to get into the negative Nancy territory where it's like, oh, everything they do, it's got to be something wrong. I want to see a little bit more help on defense, but there's plenty of time left for that. So to talk about Dozier, big body, like Grayson said, he can fly and he's tough to bring down. Anybody who knows me knows that's my type of wide receiver right there. That's my type. That outside guy that's going to not only win you the 50-50 balls, but he could take a hitch and say, you know what? Come on, tackle me, corner. Come on, I'm 6'4", 200. You about 5'10", 5'11" on a good day, $185 soaking wet. You go in the weight room for the mirrors. Make a tackle. Let's see how it works out for you. I'm very excited about this young man. I think that he could be very, very special, especially with CJ's proclivity to trust his wide receivers and throw up that jump ball. He's shown it. Sometimes it works out amazingly, sometimes, and not so much. However, Davion is one of those receivers that he's so big and imposing. A 50-50 ball all of a sudden becomes a 60-40 ball. So I'm excited to see what he can do.
I'd have to look into the details a little deeper, but it's kind of strange that they didn't get more usage out of Davion Dozier. I mean, you got to figure a guy that only has 20 catches on the year, but it's the third leading wide receiver. I think he finished third in touchdown catches as well. It's like, how do you not find more snaps for this guy? Because I think, to your point, CJ Bailey might have just found him something here in the portal because a big play wide receiver, especially like you said, the trust that CJ is trying to generate between the wide receivers, a guy that you can just throw a 50-50 ball and know that my guy's going to beat their guy no matter what happens. I have full faith as I let this thing go. Dozier might just be that guy for CJ. The portal strategy, also to your point, it is, I wouldn't say it's odd, but it feels a little like, all right, I'm just going to trust the process and see where this thing goes.
I agree.
It's not exactly going the way that, many of us thought that it might look like at this point. But I do think Dozier's a pretty solid get here. And like I said, for one reason or another, didn't even get a whole lot of burn. But hopefully we can change that in Raleigh. But I think that's a pretty solid weapon to put along the likes of a Victor Snow or a Keenan Jackson, potentially another commit that might be announcing soon. We'll see. But I like Davion Dozier from App State to fixture into the Wolfpack lineup. The other addition we had was on the defensive side of the ball, where I thought a lot of the focus would go. But Penn State linebacker Jakari Nelson has joined the Wolfpack out of the portal. Jakari was a safety in high school, but kind of became a hybrid linebacker at Penn State, got most of his burn on special teams for the Nittany Lions in 25, but perhaps another player kind of along the lines of like a Sean Brown storyline, if you will. Was a safety, converted to linebacker, might light some folks up coming across the middle. Give me your thoughts on Jakari Nelson joining the pack, Kenton.
Nelson's a little bit taller. Little few more stones in his pocket than Sean Brown had, but he's a very similar play style, right? He's a guy that's going to fly around and want to hit people. When you think about a special teams guy, a lot of people are like, oh, that means he's a reserve, he's a backup. You know what that means to me as a former football player? I think of a special teams demon. I think of a guy that his job is to go down there and distribute a little CTE. Okay, that's part of the deal. That's part of your whole gig. Hey, you got to go down there and somebody's bell is about to get rung, either yours or his. And the reality is our linebacker core is very depleted. We've talked about that. We know that that's something where we have a lot of snaps to offer, and I think this young man can slide in just fine at, I would assume, and maybe I'm wrong here, a will linebacker very similar to what Sean Brown did, because again, he's got a frame that you can put some weight on and he'll be all right. But ultimately, I think that this is a situation where he's gonna be good for us right away. I would be shocked if he did not play in a meaningful way at minimum on special teams next year.
And not just that, but you got to figure the depth of the linebacking room is another very important aspect this offseason. You lost so many guys to either graduation or, reserve guys that went into the portal. You got to rebuild some of this room. And I think Jakari Nelson is a very good attempt at doing so. He was highly rated coming out of high school, but again, that was as a safety. So he's still kind of going through the motions of learning how to be a linebacker, and perhaps DJ Elliott can extract the most of his talent to put in the right places. But I think Jakari Nelson is a very interesting piece to pick up at this point in time. To Kenton's point, he is a little bit taller. He's 6'3", and he's 235, so he's bigger than Sean Brown. Can he play the linebacker position as well? I guess we'll have to see how that works out for him in Raleigh. But Davion Dozier, the wide receiver from App State, and Dakari Nelson, the linebacker from Penn State. There's also another pending announcement, so we'll see when and if that comes out. But there is another commitment on the way, and I think y'all are going to like this one when it does go public. But 2 more additions to the Wolfpack family. Slowly but surely, the Wolfpack football team is building a very solid bunch to put into pads and put on the grass for the 2026 season. Coming up next, like I said, the national championship is tonight. It is on Monday night. We're going to tell you who's going to win after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second Monday sponsor is TurboTax. Tax season, it doesn't have to take over your life. And especially this year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever before to just hand things off and move about your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or the guesswork. Instead of spending hours of your own time trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They will handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every single deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get the right updates at the right time in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it for you. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February the 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to living your life. Visit turbotax.com/local, LOCAL, local, to book your appointment today, only on TurboTax. Last couple minutes of our Monday show. The college football season is coming to an end on Monday night. It is the CFP National Championship. The number 10 seed Miami, the number 1 seed the Indiana Hoosiers. This is a technical home game for the Miami Hurricanes. The game is played in Miami. Indiana, of all teams, the Cinderella story and also the new Kingmaker, is a 7.5-point favorite over the Miami Hurricanes. Kenton, who is going to be crowned the CFP National Champion?
Indiana wins and they cover. I think they win this one 31-21. I think that there are just some deficiencies on Miami's offense that Kirk Cignetti is going to take care of at a high level. Now, here's the thing. I hope Miami wins. I hope very much so for the sake of the conference. I hope I'm wrong. I very much so would enjoy to be wrong and need some crow here. But the reality is I have a feeling that Indiana is right now they're just a well-oiled machine. And they do have things that Miami could take advantage of. For example, Fernando Mendoza gets happy feet whenever there's a lot of pressure around him. And they've got 2 of the top guys, 2 of the top pressure appliers in the nation in Mesidor and Bain. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it that stylistically, Miami could give them problems without having the blitz, which also gives you a lot more bodies to handle the RPO side of things or the pass option side of the RPO deal there. But I just see it as there are too many holes for Miami, and Carson Beck has so far in the playoffs gotten by with being good. I don't think he's been average. I don't think he's been hidden.
Just good enough.
I think he's been good. I don't think you can beat Indiana with good. I think he needs to go legend in this game. And I think that it needs to not only be him, but Mark Fletcher as well, continue on the path that he's on. The problem is Indiana has one of the top 5, I believe, run defenses in the nation. Yeah, that's tough. And mind you, they're doing this with a defensive line that does not average 300 plus. I think that's going to be a really tough ask for Miami. But again, this is a situation where if they can lean on Indiana, if they can lean on their defensive line, if they can correctly pick up all of the movement that Indiana's defensive line does, if they can correctly hit on a couple of those times where Indiana is sending a sim pressure and they run directly away from it, that'd be phenomenal, but that's just where they are.
Now, last week on the ACC Squad show, I picked Indiana, and I was very confident in doing so. I believe the final score I gave was like 27-20, something in that ballpark. And, on paper, I think Indiana should win. I think Kurt Cignetti is an outstanding story. Win or lose on Monday night, this is one of the best coaching jobs I've ever seen, like flat out ever. Any time period, any sport, like legit ever. This is the best thing I've ever seen in terms of turning a program around that was left for dead, so to speak. Like they've been the doormat of the Big Ten forever. And to be where they are now in just 2 seasons, it is truly like what movies are made of. I fully expect one to be made, especially if they do finish this thing with a win. So I say all that, and now I can't believe what I'm about to do. I think I'm going to flip my pick. I don't know what it is. I'm getting a weird feeling about the Miami Hurricanes defense. And I think they have a real shot to stand on their head and figure out a way to get it done in this game. I think it's going to be a tight one. I think we're looking at like 26-23. I'm going to take the Hurricanes at home. I don't really think that the fact that it's in their home stadium will matter much because they don't really have a great home environment a lot of the season, especially like even when they're playing a big game. It's kind of a strange crowd. And I think the crowd tonight will be more commercialized. In fact, it might be Indiana heavy if we're being 100% honest. Like their fan base travels extremely well. So I think that's a moot point. But I have this weird feeling about Miami, and I think somehow, some way, they're going to find a way to get it done. Because also in a roundabout way, I think Indiana's kind of due for a stinker because they never have them, like ever. Their only stinker was on the road against Penn State, and they still found a way to get that one done. So I think they're kind of due for a stinker. We'll see how this goes. I'll probably end up with egg on my face, and Indiana will probably win by like 28 points. We'll see how it goes. But shout out to Mr. Isaac Souls at Spike's dad. He's an Indiana alum. I cannot imagine what this game will mean for him on Monday night. So shout out Mr. Isaac. But should be a great game for some reason, unexplained. I guess I'm going to pick Miami. Kenton is going to take Indiana, which I probably think is the right pick. But I guess I'll be dumb tonight. We'll see how this goes. Thank you all for joining us on our Monday show. Be sure to hit that like button, drop the comments in the comment box, mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll catch you back here tomorrow on Tuesday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.